Hi everybody, welcome to the cockpit of my Spitfire. But no. This video is all about Hotas, why you might want to buy one, or why I bought one, what you can do with it, and kind of what can you expect from one of these amazing devices. So, my story is the fact that I've always enjoyed flying around in World War II aeroplanes and flight simulators. So, for example, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, I bought the Spitfire, which was really expensive. It was like, I think it was like £25 or something, but it was really cool to fly around in it. And I enjoyed it. I won't lie, I enjoyed it. But I'm traditionally a console gamer, so I haven't got that much of experience of flight simulators, and generally put them on the easy settings. However, after watching Masters of the Sky, the World War II TV series on Apple about the 8th Army bombing campaign over Germany in World War II, I wanted to delve into it more. And I was kind of looking at buying the Messerschmitt Messerschmitt 109 for Microsoft Flight Simulator for the PC, but it was like another £25. I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I discovered the Il-2 Sturmovik series, and these are much cheaper, especially the older versions like this one. This is Il-2 Sturmovik Cliffs of Dover, which basically on a key site you can get for less than a fiver, and the DLC for about 13 quid. And when you buy these games, they come with all the loads of aeroplanes. So you get the Spitfire, you get the Hurricane, you get the 109, you get the Heinkel, you get loads and loads of stuff with them. The catch is, though, you really need to have a flight stick, and they don't really like gamepads. Now, I can't really comment on the new Il Sturmoviks. I say new, it's been out a while. Il-2 Sturmovik Great Battles. That may well be more gamepad friendly. But for definitely the Cliffs of Dover and the earlier one, 1946, they say, look, you've really got to get a Hotas system, a hands-on throttle and stick. So I just happened to nip onto Facebook Marketplace, and someone was selling this. Now, this is the T-Flight Hotas X for PC and PS3 for £15. So I sent them a message. I said, does it work? And they said yes. And so I said, is it all there? And they said yes. So I went down and bought it, sort of sight unseen. I'm pleased to say it does seem to be very, very nice indeed, even though it's several years old. So when you get one of these things and you use it with something like Cliffs of Dover, it takes quite a long time to set it all up. And what you have to do is match all the buttons and the different, they call these axes, the way that you can move the joystick and the throttle to do what you want to do. So what in this video, I'm going to show you what I've set up mine to do. So let's start off with the flight stick first. So as you'd expect, the flight stick, in fact, what I'm going to do, so this button here, this is a little hat. It's like a little sort of 8-way switch, like your D-pad on your controller. And I use this to control looking around. So as I click it down, it goes up because I'm an inverted. So if we look out over the wing, and if I use my stick, there you go, you can see the aileron changing, like that. And then if we go, I think, can we see the tail? I don't think we can see the tail. Okay, so let's switch to the outside view, which happens to be on, there are, just probably different if you see, there's 2 buttons on the face of this here. So I'm just going to press one of those. And now we've gone to the outside view. In fact, I tell you what, that's my chase camera view that I use. But also on that button there, I have the free look button. So we can move around like that. And so if I go up and down on my stick, you should just about see the back of the Spitfire. See the ailerons? Are they ailerons going up and down? So, but you kind of expect that as well, wouldn't you? So as we said, on the top of the stick, we have our look around button. So we can look around. And then on the trigger, which is, this bit if we'll see again, which is there, that's my machine guns. So if I pull that, we fire my machine guns, which is good. This top button here, that would be secondary machine guns. So if I had cannon, or which I do have, that will fire them as well. And then what I also have is there's another button right there, which I set as bombs. So if I had bombs, that would set the bombs off. And then the other button here is my aim down sight button. So if I go back to the cockpit view, so when I press the second button down here, we go back to cockpit view, and now when I press that button there, we lean into the gun sights. Do you see that? So I'm leaning in, so you can look closer. But what that also does is if I'm looking around and I press that button, it zeroes it again, and I can press it like that. So like this, it means that I can look around. It's a bit jerky. I guess probably on more expensive units, this is an analog thing, and so you can look around smoothly, but you know, it works fine. And so that handles all that sort of stuff. Now, also what you have on the joystick is, and this is very handy if you don't have a throttle with a rudder control, is that you also have this movement, sort of a twisting movement. And what that does is, if we go to the outside view again, you might be able to see this. This operates the rudder. In fact, I've turned it off. You can't see it, but on Microsoft Flight Simulator, for example, or this to start off with, when I would go like that, that would then do the rudder. So the idea is, as you're flying along, say you're going along the runway, especially in these single engine planes, you get a lot of drift over to one side because of the propeller, and so you need to apply a bit of rudder. And normally you would do that if you had a real proper setup. You would do that with pedals, but with the Hotas X, it does have these buttons here on the throttle, and as I operate those, they actually operate the rudder like that. So I'm actually controlling the rudder on the throttle. So I think we've covered everything. Yeah, so that covers everything on the joystick there. So if we come over to here, so it always makes me laugh, this. So obviously we have our throttle, so we can push that forward and back. My Spitfire's starting to go other place. So that's the obvious thing. So it gives you your throttle control as well. And we've talked about this rocker that's on the front of it there. They're my rudders buttons there. And then also what we have is, then there's a button there and a button slightly below it, and they're my they control my viewpoint. So the bottom button is back into the cockpit, and that button is my external chase view, say when I'm coming into land or something like that, or I just want a view all around. And then I have another button there, which is the outside view. So if I enable that, I can then use my hat to look around like that for a kind of a third person view. The chase view, which is that one, is kind of fixed behind. I can only go up and down with that one. I can't go left and right. But obviously when you're lining up for a landing or you're taking off, you really want the chase view. You don't want the third person view. Whereas when I'm flying around, if I'm looking out for enemies, you know, that can be a really good view as well. Because although you might say, well, isn't that cheating? Well, you've got to remember, visibility is the most important thing in these sort of World War II fighter games. You need to be able to look around quickly. And I have argued for quite a while that actually third-person view is more realistic, because you can look around a lot faster than you can in first-person view, unless, of course, you've got a VR headset or eye tracking or something like that. So they're those buttons. And then this button here, that is my bomb bay doors if I was flying a bomber. But more importantly, these ones here on the side, I've set these for the bottom one is brakes, the middle one is flaps, and then the top one is undercarriage. So the idea is when I want to take off, I can turn my brakes off, put my flaps down, and then when I'm in the air, I can engage my undercarriage that way. Now, when you first start doing this, it can all be incredibly complicated. And you're like, how are you ever going to remember what all these different buttons do? Specifically as well, because it's different from your gamepad often. And the answer to that is, once you start flying around a bit, it does become rather second nature. And it's not that difficult to remember. You know, you gain that muscle memory quite fast. Is it worth it? Well, I'm very lucky in the fact that I've picked these up so cheap, and so far they seem to be, even though they're quite old, very mechanically reliable. I don't think I've got a stick drift problem or like that with any of them. All the buttons feel nice. They're incredibly clean. I can't imagine the guy who sold them to me actually used them that much. And so I'm looking forward to exploring and using them that more. They definitely give you a level of immersion that you don't get with a gamepad, and they're very much fun to use. The big drawback with them is how big they are as well. So the T-Flight Hotas X comes in 2 bits. You've got your joystick and you've got your throttle section, and there's a wire that joins the two. You can snap them together and put an Allen key through, Allen key bolt through both that is in the bottom already to lock them together. And in fact, that's how I've been using them, because I then put the joystick and throttle on my lap and play like that. Because as you can see, my desk is really, really small. I did try having it so that the throttle was at one end and then my keyboard was in the middle and then the joystick was at the other end, but then I couldn't really use my mouse, because in lots of these games you need to be able to access the mouse to do stuff as well, and you need to be able to access your keyboard to do stuff as well. And so that didn't really work for me. So as you can see, things are pretty tight. You can see how big. I mean, it's slightly, when these are together, they're slightly less than the width of a full-size keyboard, which is pretty big. Quality wise, the Hotas X, it feels plasticky, but new, these are only, I say only, I know it's a lot of money, but they're only about 80 to 90 pounds, probably like down to 60 on Amazon when they go on special. But for the functionality you get, when you think that a brand new PlayStation 5 controller or a brand new Xbox controller is a similar sort of price, all these extra bits you're getting is pretty cool. And to be honest, I think this is like one of those hobbies, one of those parts of gaming where this is a really slippery slope, where if you try this, like if I try this and I really like it, and in a few months' time I'm like, oh yeah, this is nice. That's when you start getting the better sticks with the whole effect joysticks, and you get the throttles with more buttons on, and then maybe I'll get some eye tracking. I mean, I'm thinking about what I'll probably do is I'll get the free version. There's free eye tracking you can get, or head tracking, that will work with the webcam, so I'll see that. And then you go, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going all in, I'm getting a VR headset, because VR flight simulation is one of the most amazing ways to go. But this has been a very, very cheap way into this PC World War II combat flight simulation, with £3 for Cliffs of Dover Il-2 Sturmovik and £15 for this flight stick. I've been very lucky with that, and I'm looking forward to doing it. There we go. So hopefully that's answered some questions for anybody out there who's like, well, what do these sticks actually do? What do all the buttons do? And do they have enough buttons? Can you use them completely? No, you still need to use your keyboard and you still need to use your mouse occasionally. But there we go. Hopefully this has been useful. If you've got any questions or comments, put them down below. Let me just go back to the cockpit view. And if you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. And of course, I'll see you again soon.